Hello everybody, this is Pete from See Your Toes again, and this is podcast number 41. Again, I'm just talking on my own today. I hope that doesn't bore the senses out of my 5 listeners. And I would like to talk today about why. That's the big question. Why do we want to lose weight? Why do we want to get healthier? If you aren't struggling with your weight, then the question is, perhaps you just want to get a little bit healthier than you are. I think we all need to get a bit healthier than we are. I'm fairly healthy, but it doesn't mean I'm at the end of my road. And I think as we get older, it's more important to look after ourselves, because as we get older, of course, what we used to get away with earlier, we suddenly can't get away with, and things come back to bite us on the bottom. So today is all about why. For a lot of people, that might be quite easy. I just want to lose weight to look better. I just want to lose weight because somebody told me it's unhealthy. I want to lose weight because it's a bit uncomfortable, to be frank. I want to lose weight because my partner told me I need to. These are all examples, of course. I'm sure the list could be as long as my arm. The thing is, when it comes to losing fat, which is what we're talking about, we're talking about 2 things here. We're talking about losing body fat, and we're talking about getting healthier. Now, I know I've banged on about this in the past, and I guess, want to delve into it a bit deeper if I could. And let's face it, every time we talk about it, we potentially learn a little bit more, maybe remember a little bit more. Something else makes a bit more sense. I read a book this afternoon that I've read a few times already, and I just opened it up because I remembered the author had made a comment about vitamin C, and so I looked up in the index, found vitamin C, I was scribbling through the pages, and I ended up reading it again, and I noticed a whole bunch of stuff, even though I'd read the book twice already, admittedly a year or 2 ago. There was quite a bit in there that I was thinking, crap, now that makes more sense. It makes more sense to me now because, of course, as we go along the journey of life, we read, we learn more, we hear other people's experiences, we experience things ourselves, and we learn. And then things make more sense later on. I might get back to that later about what I read. So, if we are there to learn about losing body fat or getting healthier or both, then 9 times out of 10, what that will require is a change in lifestyle. It's all very well to say, I'm just going to cut down on my calories, or I might stop eating dessert. I might try to eat healthier. Well, what does that even mean? I might try to eat healthier. A lot of the time, 9 times out of 10, it is going to require a lifestyle change. What do I mean by that? I mean that at the moment, what you are doing has caused where you are in your life. What do I mean by that? 9 times out of 10, where you are now is a factor of your current lifestyle. And bear in mind, being overweight or being unhealthy or both, this is a chronic situation. A lot of the problems, a lot of the illnesses that are associated with being overweight are chronic illnesses that have taken 10 or 20 years to develop. Any of them, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, of course, Alzheimer's, of course. These things have all taken a long time to develop, and it's only when something starts to show itself that you'll go to the doctor and say, I don't feel well, or what's this here, or I've got these symptoms, and the doctor will have a poke and prod and then say, you'd better sit down, I've got some bad news for you. So they're chronic illnesses because of your lifestyle. And so to make a change, really, we need to change your lifestyle. That means we need to change how you perceive food. A lot of people perceive food as a reward. A lot of people see it as a real social activity. And it still can be a social activity. You can have friends around and have a huge feast, and it can be completely void of excess carbohydrates. It's just a factor of what people expect. If you produce a roast on the table and then somebody says, well, where's my roast potatoes? Where's my nice gravy that's been made out of lots of flour? You'll have to explain to them that that's not part of your lifestyle anymore. That might be a bit hard for them to come by. But there are lots of meals that you can make for a group of people, and they may not even notice that they haven't got a lot of carbs on their plate. Some of them might say, oh, can I have some rice with this? Sorry, I don't have rice in the house. Oh, have we got some potatoes to go with this? And sorry, I don't have any potatoes in the house. I literally don't. I might have some pasta somewhere, but that's not for me. That's for housemates. So changing your lifestyle means effectively getting those foods out of your life such that your whole idea of being food-centric goes out the door. You have a good breakfast, you have a good tea, you may or may not have a lunch, you don't have any snacky foods in the house, there's no bags of crisps and stuff, you're not sitting down to watch a movie and grabbing a bag of crisps, you don't have a cake for dessert, you don't have any dessert. It's just a different way of living. And that also means, of course, when you go out to the restaurant and stuff, if you do restaurants regularly, then again you have to be serious about where you're going to go. There's no point going to a pizza shop and expecting to get a low-carb meal. Upon saying that, if they do like a kebabby meal, you might be able to get away with it. Also, if you're suffering from a lot of the mental illnesses like depression, anxiety, possibly bipolar, all of these things, there are so many mental illnesses and there are so many people in the world these days with mental illness, and a lot of those things can be rectified with your diet. And so, again, it's a lifestyle change. We're not restricting calories, we're just eating until we're full, but we're eating foods that don't have lots of carbohydrates in them. In fact, the fewer carbohydrates, the better. Carbohydrates, I've said it before, they're all of the things that are effectively, when they hit your stomach acids are going to convert them down to sugar. Potatoes, rice, pasta, bread, cakes, biscuits, any root vegetables, any greens at all, anything that's vegetative will eventually break down to carbohydrates. That's what plants are made out of, is carbohydrates. That's how plants have manufactured themselves. All of those things will break down into carbohydrates. So what we want to do, of course, sugar, obviously, Coca-Cola, all the processed foods, just about any food that's processed is going to have sugar in it. I've said all this before. I'm repeating myself. Do you want to live longer? Do you want to live better? So that a lot of people probably want to live longer, but then they're thinking, well, if I'm living longer with the pain I'm in now, and that pain's only going to get worse, I'm not really sure I do want to live longer. I did listen to a podcast once where somebody said, if I ever get like that, I want you to kill me. And when that person did get like that, they got sick. It was just a twist of fate that they ended up getting sick. They kept saying, no, actually, I'm not ready to go. I'm not ready to go. I'm not ready to go. And that's the survival instinct. So you could end up being older, live longer, but live in pain, live in discomfort. And that's no way to go. If you have the option, though, would you like to live longer and live happier? That is obviously the fundamental two things you want. That way you can be with your partner for longer, you can be with your children, your grandchildren, you can be with all your friends, you can just enjoy life without pain, without torment, and your family, of course, and your friends will appreciate you still being here. I think I said in my last podcast, dying is actually, in my opinion, quite selfish, because you die, you're gone, but all of the people around you are left with the pieces and the emotional scars that go with it. So that's got to be a why. Why do I want to get healthier? Why do I want to lose fat? Because I want to live longer. I want to be healthier. I want to be around the people I love longer. I don't want to have diabetes. I don't want to have Alzheimer's. I don't want to have heart issues. I don't want my doctor carrying on about my high cholesterol. Don't get me started. I've mentioned that before. I don't want to have high blood pressure. All of these things, of course, are related. I don't want to have a stroke. I don't want to get any number of cancers that have been proven to be directly related to sugar intake at a chronic level for the last 20 years. So how healthy could you be is related to how healthy you want to live now. But here's the big thing. We, as people in our 40s, 50s and 60s, especially in our 50s and 60s and older, we're told right back when it was in the 1960s, 1970s, so 50 or 60 years ago, we were told that saturated fats are bad. We were told that salt is bad. We were told that cholesterol is bad. We were told that carbohydrates are good. And all of our lives we've been told this. All of our lives we've had, don't eat butter, eat margarine. Don't use lard, use vegetable oil. Don't use red meat. Red meat's bad for you. You have lean chicken. Have chicken breasts. They're lean. Have the lean meat. Chop the fat. Don't eat. Chop the fat off the meat. Don't eat bacon. Bacon's bad for you. Instead of using any sort of fat in your frying, why don't you use some of that spray-on stuff so you can spray the pan with the spray-on stuff and then you're not using any fat. Don't eat any fat. Fat is bad. This is what we've had all of our lives. Oh, then we've had all of the low-fat yogurts, low-fat this, low-fat that, zero-fat this, zero-fat that. And so we've all grown up with the knowledge ingrained into us, beaten into us like we're slaves, that all of these things are bad for us. And now we found out only recently, well, actually, I think they knew for a long time, but it's only recently more and more people have been probing and the information is slowly being disseminated that a lot of this stuff was actually crap. It wasn't based on much scientific evidence whatsoever. The scientific evidence was, how do you say, it was like a scatter bomb. You get a paintbrush, you put paint on it, you throw it at the wall and it makes a big splatter all over the place, and then you draw a line through there and say, yes, that's the line I want. Now, the fact that there's splatter drops all over the show and another person can look at the same thing and go, I can't actually see that line that you've created. I can't see that. But the person that created that line said, no, this is what it is. This is how it is. If you want to get healthier, you have to stop eating fats. I can show you. Here is the evidence. And there wasn't any evidence, and that's the problem. So we've gone all of our lives with this information. Now we're told, that might not be correct. But in the meantime, we've had an entire generation of that information. So that is really hard for all of us to get our heads around. Even I, and now and again, I go, I'm not sure I should eat all that fat. And then I think, Jesus, Pete, stop it. You idiot. You know emphatically that fat from the animal is good for you. Not eating that fat, in fact, ends up doing you a lot of harm because our bodies need lots of fat. Our bodies need cholesterol. Cholesterol is an incredible product. I've even done a whole podcast on it if you're interested. If your doctor says you got high cholesterol, get a second opinion. What you really need to do is look at your triglycerides, get a blood test, get the results. In that blood test, there'll be triglycerides and a number, and HDL, cholesterol, get that number. Put the triglycerides over the HDL and find out what the ratio is. If the ratio, I think, is below sort of like 2, then you're doing okay. It would be best if it was lower than 2. I think mine was like 0.8 or something. It was quite good. It was down into the low digits. But a lot of people will have very high triglycerides, and that shows that they are doing very badly. And that is when the doctor will say your cholesterol is high, you better get rid of your LDL cholesterol with this statin drug, and it won't help you. It won't help you at all. It'll not help your life. It will make you feel really bad. It'll make you feel like shit. Your sex life will go down the gurgler. And it's not doing anything to your triglycerides, which are what are doing all the damage. The way to get rid of that problem is to get rid of sugar, because it's the sugar that's creating the triglycerides. Sorry, I digress again. So all of our lives we've listened to this chatter, and now we're trying to change. And incidentally, the food authorities, the FDA, and so on, and the governments, they're never going to say, "Oh, sorry, we were wrong." They are never ever going to say that, because can you imagine the litigation that might go with that? If you think of the millions of people in the world who have died of heart attacks, strokes, Alzheimer's, various forms of cancer, diabetes. People don't die of diabetes, as I said. They die of heart attacks and everything else that's associated with diabetes. So diabetes gets away as kind of the nice guy, while it is actually contributing to all those deaths. So you got all these deaths that are directly attributed, really, to that information we were fed. And I'm saying that because, you can say, "Oh, but nobody forced those people to eat all that sugar." No, but sugar does all sorts of weird things to different people. Sugar can be addictive. If you didn't have the sugar, if the FDA, the food authorities and the government said, "Hey, we want you to eat lots of fats, saturated fats, unsaturated, we don't mind. Keep away from trans fats, keep away from vegetable oils, keep away from too many carbohydrates, keep away from sugar, and we're going to put a massive sugar tax on sugar just to help prevent people do that," then people wouldn't be obese, people wouldn't overeat, and a lot of these problems wouldn't exist. It's that simple. Here's why, while we're on that subject. I know we weren't, but we are now. That person wasn't forced into eating all that sugar. Right. Some people can get away with eating a lot of sugar and not having a lot happen, although they're probably still going to end up chronically ill in 20 years. Other people will eat the same amount and they'll end up obese. Now, when you eat sugar, I've said it before, the fructose in the sugar prevents your satiety hormone from operating, so you don't feel full. It does all sorts of things to your little mitochondria, which are producing energy inside you. It stops them from producing energy properly, and they produce another product called uric acid. So the fructose gets broken down into uric acid, and then the uric acid causes all sorts of grief. It causes oxidative stress and promotes more fat buildup. So then the mitochondria, instead of producing energy to make you feel better, are producing fat, and you get fatter and fatter. But wait for it, because you're getting fatter and because your energy isn't being produced by your mitochondria, you get hungrier, and your satiety hormone has been overridden, so you eat and eat and eat. And this is why fat people end up getting fatter, or I should say some people end up getting fat and then fatter, because this has, I think, more of an exacting influence on them than somebody who is lean and can eat similar amounts and not have the same effect. Humans have been designed to eat sugar and get fat. That is how we have been designed. That's an evolutionary gene, effectively, that has made us able to survive 2 ice ages and a whole bunch of other things by eating fructose in late summer, getting fat, and this whole process of the fructose overriding your little mitochondria in your body, producing uric acid. Uric acid does all sorts of things inside you, makes you even fatter, makes you eat more, so you get fatter and fatter, and then you can go into a winter where you're going to possibly be starving. These days, of course, all that's still happening, but you don't go into winter and you don't keep starving, so you just keep eating and eating and eating, and then people are obese. If the government hadn't said that sugar is fine and carbohydrates are fine and all these fats and things are bad, and they're still not doing it now. They have empirical evidence to prove that all of this is correct, and they're still not doing anything about it. They don't want to, and they won't do anything about it. But that is the cold, hard fact. If you get sugar and carbohydrates out of your diet, you will end up being a lot better. Your little mitochondria won't have fructose attacking them. They won't be producing uric acid. They won't be overriding your satiety hormones, so you'll feel full quicker. You won't have all of the other oxidative stress that's going inside your body. So that's all eliminated by not eating sugar. Of course, these scientists and the governments and so on back in the 60s and the 1970s couldn't see the future. They couldn't see the millions of people they were going to kill by doing this. They couldn't see the obesity epidemic and the type 2 diabetes epidemic. And so it's fair enough. I mean, none of us can see the future. We make a decision now. We don't know how that decision will end up in 10 or 20 years, or in this case, 50 years' time. So you can't directly blame them. You can blame them for making such an empirical change to how everybody eats with flimsy evidence. When if they'd stopped and thought about it, hey, the human population has survived for hundreds of thousands of years without all of this shit. So why change and say, right, we're going to eat all this shit and it's going to make us better? How does that even work? So here's some other reasons why you may not want to change in your current lifestyle. I'm not ready. Yeah, you can think about making a change later on because it's not a good time at the moment, but I'll ask you something simple. If it's taken you 10 or 20 years to get to the state you're in, when is a good time going to happen? Probably when the doctor gives you some bad news. When that is, I wouldn't say it was too late, but a lot of the damage is being done to you today and tomorrow and yesterday, and it keeps getting done to you. You keep damaging your body. Why do you not want to stop and change that today? Why do you have to wait for the doctor to give you some really bad information before you think, oh shit, I better get my act together? It's unfortunate how a lot of humans, of course, including me, that's how we often act. We wait until it's too late and then we say, oh crap, okay, I'd better do something about it. Can you imagine if you're lying on your deathbed, you're only, 65, 68. I've got plenty of years left in me. Next thing you have a heart attack. You're lying on the ground, clutching your chest, and you're thinking, Jesus, my time isn't up yet. I'm not ready for this. This isn't fair. But it's taken you 20 years to get to that point where you've fallen over clutching your chest and you've done nothing about it. So what I'm suggesting now is start today so that you find that you aren't clutching your chest when you're 68 and thinking, I've got so much left to my life. I wanted to say goodbye to my missus. I wanted to say how much I love my partner. No chance of that. You're gasping for breath. It sounds hard. Well, it's not hard. People who do the keto, and I'm talking about keto here, ketogenic lifestyle, ketogenic diet. People who do it say how easy it is. They don't have to fuss around with foods. They're not thinking, oh, what am I going to eat tonight? And sorting out all sorts of vegetables and pasta and gravy and all that sort of crap. They're cooking up some meat of their choice or fish. They're chucking on some various green salads, a few bits and pieces, and the meal is made. It's pretty simple. It's not there to be a culinary wonder piece. It's there to feed you. And as you get rid of the sugars and things, you'll find that the flavors of those foods become really good. You get to eat all the really good foods too. You get to eat all those fatty foods again that you've been told all your life you couldn't eat. You could get to eat a sirloin steak. I used to always like ribeye, but I'm becoming a bit of a sirloin fan lately. You get to eat the fat off them. You can eat the fat off the bacon. You can eat the skin off the chicken if you want. You can eat oily, greasy fish. I'm not much on fish, but some people are. Every time I buy a salmon and cook it up, I think it's just a bit rich for me, to be honest. You'd rather stick with your meds. Here's one that I'm always a bit surprised with, but there's a lot of people out there. Oh, I'm on a statin. Oh, why are you on a statin? Oh, I got high cholesterol apparently. Oh, okay. How's the statin getting on? Oh, not really that good. I feel like crap. I haven't had sex for 6 months. Not that I feel like sex anyway, so it doesn't matter. The missus says I'm tired all the time. I'm struggling at work because I keep forgetting everything. Well, that's because of the mental brain fog you've got. Oh, okay. Well, but I have to be on these statins. The doctor told me to. Okay, what if I suggested that if you cut out all the sugars and carbohydrates in your life, within 6 months you could probably be off those statins with your doctor's permission? Oh, that sounds like hard work. I'm not sure. Well, the meds, they're all right. They're doing the job. I'll tell you what, are you a doctor? No, you're not a doctor. No, I think I'll stick to my doctor. He knows what he's talking about. Here's a little snippet of information, of course. Your doctor does know what he's talking about, but he also doesn't necessarily. Well, there's two things about it. One is he's under a lot of pressure from the pharmaceutical places like Pfizer and so on to sell you the statins, because that's how he's making his money, and it's certainly how the pharmaceutical companies are making their money. The pharmaceutical companies do not want you to get healthy. There's no money in healthy people. The doctor may know that by cutting out sugars and carbohydrates he can make you healthier. Is he going to say that? The problem is he opens himself up for all sorts of litigation again, because if you go, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that, and you don't do it properly, you do all sorts of sneaky meals, you still have 3 beers every night, you still have your dessert, things go wrong, you've gone off your statins because somebody said you could go off your statins if you get rid of your sugar. So you've done two things. You've gone off your statins and you haven't gone off your sugar, and next thing you end up sicker and go, oh, I'm going to sue my doctor because he said this, that, and the next thing. So the doctors are pretty wary of that. And unless they're around you 24/7, they're not going to know how you get on. It's a lot safer for them to give you the meds. They know that the meds aren't going to make you better. All they're going to do is mitigate some of the symptoms. And when it comes to things like statins, I don't think they even do that. Statins are funny things. There, so many people are on them. It makes people so ill. Oh, by the way, the brain fog and everything. It's all because the statins are controlling your cholesterol, and cholesterol is involved with your memory. It's involved with your brain. Cholesterol is really important for your brain. You put statins in there, your cholesterol drops, so does your brain function. So does your hormone function, because cholesterol also moves testosterone and other hormones around your body. So you get rid of cholesterol, you get rid of those hormones, you got no sex drive anymore. And you will need to be on vitamin D, because cholesterol also moves vitamin D around your body. And so when you have statins and you have limited cholesterol, then you have limited vitamin D. Why would you do all of that? Why would you do all of that and not think and know that it's not going to ever end? It's never going to get better until you change your lifestyle. It just doesn't make sense to me, but then lots of things don't make sense to me. I don't make sense to me half the time. Your doctor says you're not unhealthy. I've heard this from 2 overweight people. 2 very overweight people. My doctor says I'm fine. But what is your doctor actually implying by that? I think what your doctor means is, I can't see any chronic illnesses that have actually popped up yet. You're not type 2 diabetic yet. You're not, you don't have heart disease yet. You don't have Alzheimer's yet. It's like, we know you're overweight. We know you're extremely overweight. We know that has to have a huge impact on your body, on everything about it. Maybe you're getting migraines, maybe you've got sore joints, maybe you're tired all the time, maybe you are depressed and feeling anxious a lot of the time. Maybe you're stressed and you can't cope with life generally, and yet your doctor says you're fine. This is why. Because, again, your doctor, I think, is, when he says you're fine, surely he looks at you and says, well, you're not exactly the template we're going to use for the healthy man or the healthy woman image of 2024, as it is this year. It's unlikely he's going to say that. But as far as he's concerned, he probably doesn't want to drop you on drugs, knowing that the drugs aren't going to help. And he's not going to say to you, you need to get your shit together and make yourself healthier, because he knows he's wasting his breath. So if your doctor says you're fine and you look in the mirror and say, well, how can I be fine? I've got 10 or 20 or more kilograms, 20 or 40 or more pounds of weight on me, you know you're not in your peak of physical health. And that is going to come to catch up to you in the future. There's not too many large obese people who reach late middle age and then into old age for a good reason. They all pop their clogs before that time. Oh, your fat friend says keto and that sort of stuff is horse shit. For every person you talk to and you mention keto or any sort of, if you said Weight Watchers, they go, oh, okay. If you said Slimming World, okay. Because both of those are calorie restriction, and they're kind of like, they're socially acceptable. You're allowed to starve yourself. You're allowed to feel like shit. You're allowed to eat a carrot a day. But you're not allowed to eat good foods and be healthy and feel strong and fit and lose mental illness. No, there's something tricky about that. There must be a trick. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. You can't do that all the time. It's going to make you really bad. You're going to end up with high cholesterol. Yeah, we've been down that road. You're going to, and so it comes out. It's all horse shit, I've got it on my Facebook page. I'm on a group called Weight Loss for Beginners. And there's one particular guy, a few times I post something, he pops up. This isn't sustainable. This is I think he said horse shit or something like that. And I go back to him and say, mate, I'm sorry, but you're clearly overweight, and I don't think you're the person to be telling me this is horse shit, and this is why. And I try to explain it in detail. I don't get personal. I don't get insulting. But next time he comes back, same thing. This is rubbish. How could you say this sort of thing? I've got a meal there. It's a nice fatty meal, no carbs on it, just lots of healthy fats, healthy protein. How can you be saying this to people? What did he say once time? I was selling snake oil, and I said, I'm not selling anything. I'm literally not selling anything. I'm not making any money out of my Facebook posts. I'm doing it to try to help people get healthy and lose weight. No, I'm selling snake oil. I should basically be flogged in the centre of town. Or I could just eat carbohydrates and get fat, or I could go on Slimming World or Weight Watchers, restrict my calories down to 1,000 calories, 800 calories a day, lose a lot of weight, lose a lot of muscle, lose a lot of health, be just as clinically depressed as ever. But that's all right, because that's socially acceptable. It's too expensive. It's not too expensive, because when you don't load your shopping trolley up with biscuits and cakes and bread and cereal and, oh God, the list is on and on, the spuds and the rice and the pasta, all of that, basically about 4 or 5 or 6 aisles of the grocery store. You go into the grocery store, you go to the fruit and veg area. You don't buy many fruit. I only buy blueberries. Go past them. Leafy veg, tomatoes, cherry tomatoes normally. I might stock up on some more olives and olive oil. Then I go and get me meats. And then I will wander on to the cheese section. I'm just imagining going through. Might grab a bottle of red wine on the way past. Go around, grab some eggs. I'd try to get extra large eggs. Always got large eggs, and then I found out there was actually extra large eggs, so I grabbed them. and then I'll grab some ground coffee so that I've got ground coffee in the morning. And that's it. And all the other shit that's in that shop stays in that shop. I have to walk past the aisle with all the biscuits or not. Yeah, it's got all the cereals and all the chocolate bars and all that crap and all the breads and all the buns and the muffins and the bagels and the tarts and all that sort of crap. I have to go past all of those, but that's all right. I can normally wander past all those pretty easy these days. So it's not too expensive. Once you get rid of all that shit, you'll find that your shopping trolley is nearly empty. You're thinking, I must have forgotten something here. And then you realise, no, the thing I didn't forget was all the shit that I don't need. All that crap that, yes, kind of tastes all right, gives me a sugar buzz, and is sending me to my grave early and sending my family to the grave early as well. It's not doing the kids any favour whatsoever. If your kid has got ADHD or anything, by the way, this could be the answer. It could be getting his or her energy levels sorted out inside their body could make a massive difference to the energy that they show on a daily basis. So because most of these illnesses are chronic, you could very much compare them with cancer. Cancer is, and like I've said, there are so many cancers that are directly created by, again, sugar and carbohydrates that have been consumed for the last 10 or 20 years that are causing this problem. It turns out that I read this the other day in a book that's very scientific and was quite difficult to read, to be frank, but interesting at the same time, which became a bit of a paradox. A cancer cell, effectively, when cells in your body, every day there are thousands and thousands of cells in your body that are up for renewal, and that means effectively their time is up. They will get destroyed. So if you're a cell, you're there, all right. You say, I know I'm a bit old, but look, I'm still doing my job. And then some grim reaper comes up and says, right, number 4,712, your time's up. Ah, shit. And so then at that stage, your body will do its thing to basically dissolve you as a cell, reuse all of your building blocks. It includes dissolving the mitochondria and everything else inside your cell, all of your DNA, everything. It all gets broken down, reconstructed, and used somewhere else on making new cells. It doesn't help you as that cell because you are now disintegrated. A cancer cell gets the message and says, nah, screw you, I'm not going nowhere. I know that's not good grammar. I'm not going nowhere. And it defies this method, and it ends up being effectively on its own and not disintegrating, and then it will divide and then divide again and divide again, and before you know it, you've got the start of a cancer. So the cancer cell, therefore, has defied all of your other body organs and breaking down, and it's starting to just basically be its own entity, and it slowly builds up. It doesn't have mitochondria in there, and that means the cancer can't produce its own energy. Almost every other cell in your body has mitochondria in there, and the mitochondria are responsible for generating energy inside your cell. Every cell of your body generates energy for that cell to operate. Cancer cells don't have mitochondria, and therefore they can't generate their own energy, so they have to use energy from their surroundings, like from the blood and everything else. It's another reason, incidentally, why people on cancer treatment these days are often put on ultra-low ketogenic diets. So they're ultra-low carbohydrate ketogenic diets so that your blood doesn't have too many carbohydrates, sugar, floating around, and that effectively helps starve the cancer. So the cancer has nowhere near the amount of food that it would have on a standard Western diet, and that reduces its ability to grow and flourish. And then, of course, your other methods of destruction of a cancer by the health authorities, by the cancer people, has more of a ability to do its job. So that's another thing about the ketogenic diet. It's an example of how the ketogenic diet is actually working in your favor. The other cells in your body, one of the other main cells in your body that don't have mitochondria, are your red blood cells. And that's because mitochondria use oxygen in the process of generating energy. So can you imagine mitochondria being stuck in a red blood cell that is transporting oxygen to the other end of your body, and along the way the mitochondria says, oh, I might have some of that oxygen please, and it munches it all up. Your red blood cell gets to the far end and doesn't have any oxygen left because the mitochondria have made it into energy. So therefore the red blood cells, your hemoglobin in your body, don't have mitochondria, which I find quite interesting. So what I'm saying is, it's pretty simple. If you, as a why do I want to get healthy? I want to live longer. I want to be healthier. I don't want all these chronic diseases. I want to be around longer for my partner and for my grandkids. I want to be able to do things with them. I want to enjoy my life. Then that's the why. And the how is really easy, but I do have to change my lifestyle. It's going to be everything about what I eat. But if it means that I'm going to live for 20 or 30 years longer, I'm going to live pain-free, or a hell of a lot less painfully than possibly I am already. Certainly less painfully than I will be in 20 years' time if I keep going the way I am. So if I can add 20 or 30 years to my death sentence, then and live healthily and happily and be able to travel and be able to do everything and enjoy life, then why the hell wouldn't I do that just for the change of what I'm eating today and tomorrow? Also, I would like to think that as I get older, I'm not going to be on any meds. I'm not going to be on statins or painkillers or antidepressants. Antidepressants are another one that cause all sorts of problems to your metabolism. And you can listen to some of my other guests who have on mental health that I've had who have been on antidepressants, and things have really gone tits up really fast. And just briefly, I know this is a sidetrack, but it's something I said to you earlier that I was reading a book and I spotted stuff that I hadn't really cottoned on before. The reason I was looking through the book was about vitamin C. Humans are one of the few beings in the world where we don't make our own vitamin C. Dogs and cats, this is why dogs and cats don't need to eat vegetables and fruit, because they make their own vitamin C out of their food. Their body makes the vitamin C. We used to many, many millennia ago, we used to be able to make our own vitamin C, and we lost that process. We lost that gene effectively from doing its job. Why would we have lost that gene? Because it seems a bit counterproductive. It would appear, again, it's because of our ability to use fructose, which is sugar, and convert that to uric acid, which is a byproduct, and the uric acid increases our ability to get fat. Vitamin C counters all of those things. Vitamin C prevents the uric acid from doing its job. Uric acid is quite oxidative, so it causes all sorts of oxidative stress, and fat is one of the things that comes out of it all. Now, the vitamin C acts against oxidation. It's an antioxidant, and it's a really important one in our bodies. So it blocks the uric acid from doing its job, and next thing, we're not putting the fat on that we want to put on, and we're not fattening up for winter. So our bodies learnt somehow, and let's face it, evolution of bodies is an incredible subject. Our bodies got rid of that gene that produced the vitamin C. So now we no longer produce vitamin C, we have to consume it, we have to eat it. Now that means that if you are overweight, if you are struggling with your weight, then vitamin C a lot of people who are apparently obese and overweight have really low vitamin C levels. So it's just a little plug, that something you can have, and it's as simple as having a vitamin C tablet. Don't overdo it. I think 500 milligrams is the suggested daily maximum dose. But a vitamin C tablet or a couple of tablets, look at the label, see how many milligrams is in a tablet. Have no more than 500 milligrams. It can be a really good way of staying healthy, and it can help prevent obesity, believe it or not. It's just one of those little steps that can help. It can help reduce the effects of obesity. It can help override it. Vitamin C is also really important because as we respire, as we use oxygen to make energy, there's all sorts of little reactive oxidation processes go on. There's and hence the word antioxidant. There's all these little oxidation things going on inside our bodies. When those things leak, that's what can help age us. It is seriously thought by scientists. So part of the reason we all get older, let's face it, all of our cells are being reproduced on quite a regular basis. So we should all be brand new all the time. Incidentally, except for things like the heart. The heart muscles don't get changed very much. But your normal muscles do. They get broken down and replaced and built new. So why, therefore, aren't we brand spanking new forever? And it's thought that one of the major things with aging is, again, it's a chronic thing that slowly but surely, every day of our lives, there's a little bit of this oxidative leakage that comes out, and it screws up DNA in your neighbouring cells. It screws up proteins and fats and all sorts of things. And so slowly but surely you age until it gets to a stage where the human body generally can last for about 100 years. They believe possibly 120 before it's time where there's just nothing left. Incidentally, fun fact, an albatross, the bird, can live for about 150 years if it doesn't get eaten by a shark or a whale in the process. When I say whale, I mean orca. And compare that with a rat, who will normally have an old age lifespan of up to 7 years. So the rat has and incidentally, I was reading a book on octopus and its neighbours, its relative, the squid and the cuttlefish, and they only last for 2 or 3 years. So you've got an octopus, which is quite a big animal, really intelligent, can do all sorts of things, and literally and it only lives for 2 or 3 years, and then they kind of almost decompose while alive. They start falling apart, and then something will come along and eat them. So it shows that different animals have different speeds at which they get old and die. And this aging process, for us at least, a lot of it is to do with these oxidation elements that are leaking out of our respiration system. And one of the ways that can be reduced is, again, with vitamin C, because it's the strongest antioxidant that will be floating around in our bloodstream, and the antioxidant will attack those oxidation units there. What are they? There's a hydroxy ion and a hydrogen peroxide. They're both sort of side shoots of the oxidative process, where you're getting oxygen and sugar or carbohydrate or even fat for that matter, and when it breaks down, these other things come out in the process of making carbon dioxide and water. So the moral of the story is that all of these oxidation things that are drifting around and attacking all sorts of things, because they're really reactive, these little bastards, it's the vitamin C, which is an antioxidant, that can grab them and get rid of them. So if there's one thing you could take out of this podcast, it's probably go and buy yourself some vitamin C tablets and pop them on a regular basis. It's the only thing I'll suggest, and magnesium. I do like a magnesium tablet if I've done a workout at night before I go to bed. It helps relax me. That's all I ever talk about. I don't believe in vitamin D. I've heard that if you're taking vitamin D tablets, then effectively your body, it can help prevent your body from using its natural vitamin D. It prevents the cholesterol from moving your natural vitamin D around because you're already taking it in a tablet form. So sometimes having it in a tablet isn't a good thing. And when it comes to so many of these other tablets and additives that everybody suggests you should have, the problem is they're often at the expense of something else. So your body is such a complex mechanism, but Vitamin C is one of the few things that your body will not manufacture. It has to get from food. You can get it from, obviously, fruit and certainly vegetables. One last little comment about that. With regard to fruit, there's a lot more vitamin C apparently in a fruit that isn't sweet yet. So an orange that's still sour as hell, or a banana that's still starchy and sort of sticks to your teeth and isn't that sweet and nice. As it becomes sweeter and as more fructose inside the fruit develops, because that starch gets converted into sugar and the sugar is fructose. As more fructose is produced, less vitamin C is effectively, the vitamin C is decomposed. And that makes sense from what we were saying before, that fructose and uric acid, which is a derivative from fructose, and vitamin C don't like each other. So as that fruit is nice and sweet, so you go, oh, this fruit, this orange is just so delicious and juicy. That's your brain, that's your taste buds saying, I love this fructose because I want to get fat for winter. And it's also probably saying, and by the way, I know the vitamin C level and this is going to be low, and that's what I want because I want to get fat. So that's why I think if you choose fruit like blueberries, strawberries, other berries, blackberries, raspberries, and also leafy green vegetables and that sort of thing, a lot of those will have vitamin C in them, but they're not going to have the fructose to the same degree. Don't eat lots of them because then you'll end up in a carbohydrate overload. Just eat a few, that's all I'm saying. And even better, buy yourself some tablets, some vitamin C tablets, and pop them on a regular basis. All right, thank you for listening. Thank you for the 5 guys. Thank you for all 5 of you guys for listening. And I hope to have, I keep saying I hope to have guests, but it's pretty bloody hard at times. And you may have noticed that I've changed my podcast cover. I actually went out and spent some money on somebody and got a more professional cover. So that's something I'm working towards, obviously becoming a little bit more professional as I move on. So have a good time, enjoy yourself, stay safe, and see you next time. Bye-bye.